I've heard preachers who have all the nice cars and the rims and the Benzes and the Lexuses and all that kind of stuff get up in the pulpit and say, hey, if you told me to give it up right now today, I'd turn it all loose. I don't think you would, because you put a lot of investment in there. And what you invest in is where your heart is. God will have to humble you. That means he's going to have to pull it away from you. He says, so therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. What is he saying? He's saying, go home right now and throw out everything. No, he's not saying that, but he's talking about absolute detachment. The word that they used to use a lot when I first got saved was absolute surrender. You have to surrender everything. It sounds very invasive. You know, remember the rich young ruler, he ran into that situation? Brothers and sisters, these requirements are the pathway to complete freedom. But most people don't think of it like that, because they're thinking about everything they got to give up. What about what you're getting? Jesus made this statement, and you can't get away from it. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. There's no way to get away from it. I've heard preachers who have all the nice cars and the rims and the Benzes and the Lexuses and all that kind of stuff get up in the pulpit and say, hey, if you told me to give it up right now today, I'd turn it all loose. I don't think you would, because you put a lot of investment in there. And what you invest in is where your heart is. God will have to humble you. That means he's going to have to pull it away from you. And I don't like when God has to humble me. I've been humbled by God a few times over the years. It's not a good thing. It's better to follow his word from the beginning. One of my pastors used to say, construction is always better than reconstruction. It's always better. Do it right the first time. You see, the object and the point here is God tells us from the beginning, cut yourself free from those things that are going to compete with my affections and your affections for me. If you choose to just hold on to a few of them, they will come back to haunt you. And guess what? There's no pastor that's going to be able to break you out from them. There's no conference that you're going to run to and break it out. It has to be a choice you make on your own. And so right from the beginning, Jesus says, denounce all of it. Set yourself free. Don't look at it as like some great law, because you're gaining God. You're gaining Christ. Set yourself free so that you don't wrestle for the rest of your life. That's the reason why a lot of Christians fight and they can't get the strength, is because they're holding on to something that offends God, but it doesn't offend them. And you know what that is. Like the things that I've wrestled with, I've always known what they were. And sometimes, you know, this flesh is so wicked. You can know what it is and go into prayer and say, God, show me what it is. You already know what it is. It's a waste of time. And if he shows you what it is, what are you going to do next? If he points it out, are you ready to put it to death? Putting some of these things to death sometimes is hard, especially when your emotions and your feelings are attached to it. Sometimes it's people that are causing you to stumble. And you love them. And that was one of my sins. That was literally one of my sins coming out from the streets. I had that street love, that gang love. And I'm going back and forth and I'm like, oh man, you know what? I'm going to die trying to be loyal to people who really don't care nothing about my salvation. We got to put certain things together. Yours may not be that severe, but if it's holding you back from loving God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, oh yeah, you need to get rid of it. Now, here's the thing. In order to make such dedicated, committed decisions to follow Jesus, it literally depends on what your heart desires. Not everyone that hears the gospel sees the same thing. Matthew 13. Let's start at verse 44. It says, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Stop. Okay. Brothers and sisters, the man doesn't want the field. Okay? He doesn't care for the field. He doesn't want the field. The field is a field of dirt. Okay? He's not a man. We know what he's found a great treasure. And he feels in his mind, this is worth everything that I have. So I'm going to sell everything I got. I'm going to buy that field because I don't want to be disputed when I go back and get that treasure, that it belongs to somebody else. Because if you dig it up and you take it and somebody owns it, they can say, hey, look, you found it on my property. So he says, I'm going to buy the property. And if it costs all that I have, I want what's on that property. Do you feel that way about Jesus? Because that's what Satan's going to come after. People think Satan is coming after your valuables. Oh, my car, my job. They don't care about that. Because you can get another car. You can get another job. He strategizes after those things because those things nibble at your faith. You lose a job, you got stress coming on. It's not the job he's after. It's your faith he's after. And he's looking for those who truly love the Lord. He's not messing with those who don't. Trust me. I watch and you've seen it. There seems to be some Christians that don't have no problems because they're not really doing anything for the Lord. They're not a menace to the kingdom of darkness. Is Jesus that? Let's look at the next one. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. Now he's looking for fine pearls, who on finding one of great value went and sold all that he had and brought it. Now look at the language. This is why studying it from a perspective of God's Spirit is so important. He's a merchant looking for fine pearls, plural. He's looking for fine pearls. He finds one of great value. It didn't say he found the one of greatest value. It's one of great value. You know what that means? There are others of great value. But on finding one pearl of great value, he went and sold all that he had and bought it. You know what that means? While there are a lot of things that are great in life, there are a lot of things that are valuable in life. To this man, that was the greatest for him. He saw that one and he said he was in search of pearls, plural, but he found one and said, it's over. I found all that I'm looking for. When you see and you come to the truth of Jesus, is that how you feel? Because if you don't feel that way, if that doesn't burn in your soul, you're going to still be looking for stuff. And Jesus is just going to be one of those things that you add on to it. Is he the pearl? When you found Christ, is there nothing else that can compete with him in your affections? That will tell you how you're going to struggle in life. You see, brothers and sisters, we can't do that. It's all or nothing. You'll never see the great goodness of God unless all is given up to God. He's not a God that plays with affections. Remember what he says? He says, I'm a jealous God. The decision here is that one would be willing to give up all you have to obtain Christ and what Christ offers.